Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
Happy Friday to you, Mike.
Happy Friday, Phil, and everybody out in Listenerville. Excited to be here for another week of, random waypoints. Who knows where we're going to go?
I think it's going to be pretty random this week for sure. I want to start out on a solemn note. In the past week, bro, we've had quite a few big names, people, shocking names died this week. You were the one who told me. I wasn't even aware that Chuck Mangione died. I didn't even realize he was 84. So rest in peace, Chuck Mangione. Who else we got?
Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, that was like, I know sometimes we get accused of being on the podcast of being negative, but I'm going to tell you that the Ozzy Osbourne thing this week was, and I know this sounds almost backwards, but was like, obviously it was a very sad thing. However, it was amazing to me. What I noticed the most is how it brought people together from all sorts of different genres. Like, just looking at my social media feed after they announced that he had died. And that night, all these different bands that were playing worldwide, I saw from like Dave Matthews to like Lady Gaga to like country musicians, all sorts of different people were like, made it a point to either, recognize Ozzy Osbourne or even play one of his songs in their concert. It was pretty wild. But like, what was amazing to me was that the dude just got up 2 weeks ago. I watched the concert in England. I watched it. I watched like the whole thing. And it was just and he, to be honest with you, I got to tell you, he sounded pretty good. I mean, considering he couldn't move and he was in a wheelchair basically on stage, but he sounded pretty good, particularly when you listen to him next to Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses, man. I mean, he's got to hang it up. He didn't sound too good, but Ozzy Osbourne is like invented, certainly with Black Sabbath, invented that genre of music. So it was a big, it was big news.
Speaking of it being big news, I hope I don't word this in a bad way. I hope it's not taken the wrong way, but I feel like Ozzy Osbourne died on a bad week.
Yeah,
he is of the level of rock star. He is the level of musician, and he has the level of notoriety and love that he is not getting his proper due in the news this week, in my opinion. Is that making sense?
Yeah, it does. I understand what you're saying because there's, unfortunately, as always, and we'll talk about this later in the podcast, there's a lot of news going on that's like, I call it the noise news, the propaganda, the nonsense.
But I'm even talking about like there's other notable deaths this week that kind of dilute his legacy being told.
Yeah, and you're right. That's true. Yeah, and it's interesting. He's like he's an interesting character because here's a guy that on the surface you wouldn't expect to be as big of a celebrity as he is, for a couple of reasons. One, heavy metal. Two, he was from England. Different factors, but you got to remember, one of the things I heard people talking about him this week was that he was in person, he was the nicest guy. He was always super friendly. Through all of his years, he was admittedly a total disaster and a mess. Like he was drugged out. He was just a mess. But he became so famous with Black Sabbath, and then when they fired him for drinking and whatnot, he went on. This doesn't happen all the time. He went on to become a huge rock star in his own right in his solo career. And then on top of that, he almost invented, to be honest with you, reality TV, because that Osbourne show, when it came on, has set the tone for so many other shows that have been on television. And watching him, he was just I mean, he's a mess. But I saw an interesting meme. It was kind of funny that Ozzy. Who would have figured Ozzy Osbourne would outlast Richard Simmons? So much for working out and being healthy.
Right.
Right. I mean,
Mike, I'm also sad to share that Malcolm-Jamal Warner, who played Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, he died at 54 in an accidental drowning in Costa Rica.
yeah.
And for me as a black man, it was the first time that I saw characters on TV who actually looked like me, dressed like me, lived like me. Up until that time, there had never been like a TV show that I could see. Like I had doctors on my block growing up.
Right. Yeah.
The goal was to go to school. I did up until that time I had good times. I had stuff everything was we were in the ghetto or something like that.
Right.
Which I totally didn't relate to, and I'm not saying it didn't exist, but I'm just saying it was impactful to me to finally see truly me on TV. I could relate to what was going on in that household for the very first time. So
and I can understand that because that was such a well-written and such a good show, just in general. And so many famous people came out of that as it was, and worth noting that, like, here's a guy that just drowned that I hate to say it was like in our age group too, like right, same kind of age group, and scary stuff. I mean, he went on to do a lot of other things besides the Cosby Show as well.
Yeah, he was successful, and from my understanding, Bill Cosby set him up early on to get a bigger share of the profit. So he was living a good life. He was vacationing when that happened. It's just horrible to when somebody's life is set up to a lot of people, the second half or the back end of their life isn't set so well. So it's going to be rougher as they go along. So, but it's a little harder to hear about somebody, oh, they would have had a great, long, fun life and it got cut short.
Yeah.
All right, bruh. So
and I started this out by saying we were going to be talking positive, but I mean, what's positive about it? Let me just note this: is that it's not politics, and it's not the American noise that which we're probably going to talk about now, that we're so accustomed to in the news. Like, it's other things, and
just one last thing, like the names that we mentioned that all died this week. Okay, you may not have been into jazz or easy listening, so Mangione's not hitting you, or maybe you weren't, but like there's a major person out of major demographics that died. One of these is hitting somebody emotionally. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, Mike, let's lighten this up real quick, okay?
Yeah.
All right. So here's what we're going to do today. It's going to be called Legend versus Legend, Mike. We're going to play a game.
Okay.
I'm going to throw two big names at you. Could be from music, sports, politics, whatever. And your job is simple. Pick who's greater. But you're not just guessing. You're going to make the call based on influence, impact, legacy, or just straight up personal preference.
Are these guys, are all these people alive, dead, or what?
Most of them are alive.
Okay.
So this is going to be about who moved the culture, who changed the game, who left a mark that still matters, or you just respect more. So we'll set the stage, then you choose. No ties, no hedging. You've got to name the one who takes the crown.
Okay.
All right. You ready?
Yes. Let's hope I know who they are.
Oh, I'm gonna give you the names and
Okay.
a quick little sentence afterwards. Elvis Presley versus Michael Jackson. Two
Oh,
kings, one throne. Did MJ moonwalk past Elvis, or does the original king still reign? Elvis Presley versus Michael Jackson.
hmm.
So while you're thinking, I'm just gonna say, Mike, that uh I'll start with Elvis Presley. I grew up watching every one of his movies. Those were like the hit movies when I was growing up. I watched every single one of them. Used to sing the songs. Richard, what's his name? Eddie Murphy made a joke
Eddie
about how,
Murphy.
he would basically sing his albums on these movies. I'm going to win this race.
Yeah.
Uh, he really did have people wanting to be him. He was the first, I think, true sex symbols. Before, they weren't real sex symbols because they weren't really selling sex. They were selling purity up until that point,
Yeah.
until he was swiveling his hips.
Right.
And then you got Michael Jackson. Well, he just died recently. I don't have to go into him. So who you got, Mike? Elvis Presley versus Michael Jackson.
So the reason I hesitated was that if you had asked that question prior to Michael Jackson dying and prior to all the crazy accusations about the kids and the what, you know what I mean? He's been tarnished subsequent. So the King of Pop was certainly, while he was in his heyday in the, I guess that was the 80s, pretty much, right? 80s, 90s. That would have been a toss up. I mean, Elvis set let's put it this way. I'll answer it this way. I would go with Elvis on this. There wouldn't be a Michael Jackson without Elvis.
That I only disagree with that statement. I don't see a line where, like, I can, like, if we were talking about maybe
Well, because Elvis set the standard for someone becoming as iconic in the music industry as a sort of like an icon, like a legend kind of person, as a solo artist. Like, you know what I
okay,
mean? That's kind of what I mean by
I
that.
agree with that, but because nah, I agree with that, but I don't think that Elvis Presley falls in like lineage to Michael
No,
Jackson.
no, because
Uh,
Michael Jackson came out of a different genre. It came out of a different, like, look, Michael Jackson came out of a band, call it, you know what I mean, like a group, a family, the Jacksons. He came out, he went solo from that, and he came out of a different music scene. Let's say Elvis was the originator of, quote, rock, right? So they're well, maybe not originator, but he made it big. Like, after Elvis, you started seeing other iconic artists pop up in that similar genre. I mean, you can go back to certainly to Buddy Holly and what's his name? I'm drawing a blank.
Good golly, Miss Smiley.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's the originator of rock.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm drawing. I'm spacing it here.
Little Richard.
Yes. But Elvis sort of was like, he put, you brought it up in the beginning of the conversation. He brought the music with the visual. He combined those two things together
I agree
because of the
with
movie
that.
part.
I agree with that. Now there's lineage there. Elvis brought sizzle to the stage,
Yes.
and then Michael Jackson
Yes. And that's what
built
I
off
mean.
of that. I agree
Okay.
with that.
There we
Absolutely.
go. Okay. It was a roundabout way of getting there, but that's what I meant.
So you pick Elvis, I pick Michael Jackson, and I ain't gonna be long. I pick Michael because it's like I could give you 10 random tickets to 10 concerts, and I can show you from the production to the dance and to everything, all 10 of those concerts will have taken stuff from Michael Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about from a Beyonce to a Taylor Swift.
Yeah, for sure.
As a matter of fact, some of the people that are working behind the scenes in them productions are literally ex-employees of Michael Jackson.
Yep.
Whether it be choreography or whatever. Once you leave America, I guarantee you there are a lot of people who, younger people, don't know who Elvis is.
Yep. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I could go anywhere in the world. I don't care what kind of place it is, and I could find some Michael Jackson paraphernalia, whether it's on somebody's back or something like that. So I'm going with Mike. All right, Mike, here we go. Donald Trump versus Barack Obama. One inspired hope, the other shattered political norms. Which president changed America more?
Oh, so to me, that's easy. Donald Trump changed America more. Not even close.
Okay. I think I can change your mind.
Okay.
I say Barack did. I say there is no Trump if there isn't a Barack.
I wouldn't argue that.
Trump ain't running for president if there's no Barack and he's sitting at a dinner being abused by a comedian.
I agree with that. However, but you said changed America. Right, fundamentally.
Going forward, here go the change. Everything basically up until this point that Trump has done has been a retaliation to something Barack did. He's literally trying to change what Barack changed. The whole dynamics of the country changed so much that we had to have Trump come back in and bring us back a little bit. It isn't saying who was the better change. It's asking who did the most change. And I don't think that at any time in history has there been such a significant social change in America than during the period of Barack Obama and all the way up until this point of Trump coming back to office.
I would agree with you that Trump wouldn't be there without Obama. I do think that is a reflection of America and their look. It's always like a pendulum, right? It swings both directions. So the reason I'm not thinking Obama, I think is because Obama.
We changed the definition of sexuality from being scientific to being psychological.
Yeah, but I don't think. Do you think that was Obama? That it was during his. Yeah. But I don't know that Obama necessarily even agrees with that.
Bro, he was just on his wife's podcast talking about it on her podcast. Yeah. It ain't even been 7 days yet. He was just talking about it.
I listened to the podcast.
A matter of fact, the more he talks, the more I'm like, because I used to think, they just put money in his pocket and he lobbied for him, and that's all. He was just a spokesperson. But the more he talks about it now, post-president, I'm like, this seems more like a personal agenda more than anything.
So you're saying, I'm going to translate for you, that he is responsible for the destruction of the Democratic Party.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
He okay.
He took him off the rails.
Okay, so he did it in the worst three ways that you could do it. He created a villain when there was none, which was Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He literally created the villain that came to destroy them.
Yep.
He literally created the agenda and got the agenda passed that created Trump, that has created all of the isms that we have going on now. It's all Barack.
Hmm. You're on fire today, Phil. I mean, not, when you explain
It's
it that
just the
way,
truth.
yeah. I mean, I could
Regardless
see
of
the
who you with, when you look at the most just severe change, that it was Barack. The way the world went here in America, morally, ethically, and in general, totally changed under Barack. And we're slowly trying. That's the whole thing that's going on now. We're trying to slowly get back to that.
get
It's
back
so
to
much. It's so much that he's done that we still haven't get back to being able to actually give a definition of what a woman is,
right, right.
and not just be able to give the definition, but feel comfortable saying it, not
Yeah,
being worried about whether or not you're gonna lose your PhD or you
right, right.
or something like that.
Yeah.
So I I mean, you picked who you picked, but
Well,
I just feel like it ain't even close.
I was thinking about it from a different angle. I was thinking about it from a political a system standpoint. So I think Donald Trump, and I still continue to think he has fundamentally changed the structure of government in the United States more than any other president in the history of the country, and it's not going to go back. He has morphed the federal government into a very strong
Why was
presidency.
he able to do it?
Well,
Because the people have been so
revolted.
disturbed for the
Yes.
past 12 years of what's happening
Yep.
that he has literally an edict to go out and do these things.
Yep. Yeah.
He's
Because
he's literally going with the grain. He's not going against the grain.
yep. Yeah, and that's the part that I don't think that everybody that's listening to us necessarily understands or agrees to. That the general feeling of more than 51% of the people is that we went down the wrong path before, and this is not a statement of whether or not Trump is a good guy or I support him or whatever, but he has the groundswell behind him because people got tired of the direction that I would agree with you that
Mike,
Obama
it
set.
it had gotten so bad that there were certain social discussions that in a group you'd hear someone say certain things that you disagree with, and you'd be like, oh, I didn't know John felt that way, or blah blah blah. And then you talk to him one-on-one, he was like, oh, this is how I really feel.
Yeah.
And it'd be the complete opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you couldn't even go by what people said. You had to know the person, and they basically spill the beans to you how they think and feel.
Well, we got to the tip.
And it
I
was
used to call,
because of Barack and because of the Me Too
well,
movement, because of the Black Lives Matter, because of the Blue Line, because of all of these different things where we trying to divide people up and have them hate each other.
yeah, I call it the tiptoe philosophy, and so I equated Obama to that. I thought Obama, when he was in office, never on the surface, it never looked like he was taking a side. It almost looked like he wanted everybody to love him all the time, and he was and I wish I can't tell you how many times when he was the president I would say I wish he would just take a fucking stand on something and do something. But the problem is what he did is to create a society that what you just described. If we were all in a group, we'd keep our mouth shut because everybody was afraid to say anything. We got to a point where it was the whole tiptoe society. Where if you're talking about what the definition of a woman is, we'd all be like, "Well, shit, we better not say anything right now."
And we still ain't in the clear.
No, not totally. It's changing very quickly, though. I will tell you.
All right, let's move on, Mike.
Okay.
Here's a good one. Tom Brady versus Michael Jordan. Is the NFL's GOAT bigger than the NBA's GOAT? Who owns the winner's DNA?
That's not fair. I mean, they're both.
That's the point.
Yeah. And I was going to say, there's up and coming stars in both of those leagues that are potentially rivaling or better, but that it's both the NBA and NFL. So I can't say one is over the other. Yeah, I don't know. Geez, I don't know. See, in some ways, Michael Jordan was more expected to do what he did. Tom Brady, remember, was like a B string backup quarterback. Like he wasn't expected. He came kind of out of nowhere. Jordan was a little bit more expected to become a great. I don't know that matters necessarily because at the end of the day, it's what they did. But
No, what we're talking about, that story and how people feel about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like if we were talking about boxers and it was Ali versus somebody, a lot of the reason people are going to pick Ali has nothing to do with him boxing. So
What do you think?
So what do I think? I think, okay, we already agreed that you got to pick one, so I'm going to pick one. Michael Jordan.
Okay.
But after that quick answer, my real answer is it's too early. And why I say that is Michael Jordan has done what he's done on the court, done what he's done off of the court. Tom Brady just retired.
Yeah.
So who knows what might happen? Tom Brady may have some second wind where he, does some other thing in his life that
exactly.
eclipses.
Right now, he seems to be focused on models.
but right now, this is the way I judge it. If I had them just in some t-shirts and jeans, and I was to transport them magically anywhere in the world, what would be the reaction to them? And it's so clear cut Michael Jordan that
because he's transcended the sport, right? It's more than the sport. It's the marketing, it's the swag, it's the businesses, it's the he's got a brand. Michael Jordan is a brand.
Right.
Tom Brady, I agree, has not had the opportunity to do that yet. If I had to take a guess, I would tell you, if you and I are having this conversation in 20 years from now, I think we might still pick Michael Jordan because I don't know that Tom Brady is got that
swag.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know that he has that. I mean, they're both individually, they're both interesting, weird, flawed characters for sure. They're both weirdos.
And then when we look at it in the sports way, I mean, people will say, okay, they both won about the same, but they won different. One was not athletic. One was superiorly gifted.
Yep.
So their performances were different. So people react to performances different. One person, just like to this day, Michael Jordan, one of his most famous games is when he scored 62 against Bird, and he lost that game.
Right. Yeah.
So people give a lot of credence to the visual display that Michael Jordan gave on it. There's no wow highlights that Brady has gotten. So it's hard for him to.
Yeah. I agree. It might be too early for that one.
All right, Mike. Joe Rogan versus Howard Stern.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Joe Rogan versus us.
It wouldn't be fair. I wouldn't do him like that. So you got the podcast king versus the radio rebel who revolutionized the mic. Well,
I'm gonna be hard ones. I mean,
I'm gonna go with Howard Stern, bro. and I know what the numbers say and all of that, but there is no Joe Rogan without Howard Stern. There is no Joe Rogan. There's none of this all of this what we doing, none of this without Howard Stern.
Agreed. And Howard Stern has interviewed just shit. I mean, more people than Joe Rogan has ever met. The difference, though, from a power standpoint now is that, and that might be more of a medium discussion. Joe Rogan commands so much power.
I agree with that. I switched my answer.
Well, Joe Rogan was one of the reasons that Donald Trump got reelected. Let's be clear here. I don't think Howard Stern. I mean, and admittedly, Howard Stern is older and whatever. Howard Stern does not have that power now. He doesn't have that, and that's a medium.
And he never had influence.
Stern
never had influence.
Yeah, not in that sense. However, he did have a lot of influence to get a lot. Like, I still watch a lot of Howard Stern stuff. Like, I'll come across my social media where he has. You name it, every famous musician or comedian or whatever has been on. Everybody's been on Howard Stern, right? Howard Stern has the voice. You know, he's got an iconic voice. He's so good at asking questions. And I'm not even getting to the show part of it. Like that's the Howard Stern part. His show part had obviously a huge cast of characters that established the whole genre of in itself. But Joe Rogan has so much power.
I agree.
I think that's the difference.
I agree. As soon as you said that, I had the epiphany, and I immediately changed. I'm with the Joe Rogan all day. I don't know what I was thinking. Last one, Mike. Okay. This is going to be easy. LeBron James versus Kobe Bryant.
You say it's easy, but it's not easy.
All-around dominance versus relentless killer instinct. Who's the greater Laker legend? I don't know why it ain't easy, and I understand you saying it, and most people would say that it ain't easy, but I don't understand how it's not easy. Kobe Bryant all day, every day. LeBron ain't in my top 5.
But do you think some of that is because he died?
No.
And how it happened?
He won more rings. He won more MVPs. He was a more at the end of a game, 2 minutes, we got 2 minutes left. We down by 8 points. Who do I want? I want Kobe over LeBron all day, every day.
Agreed for basketball.
Here's the thing. I literally, I'll show you the pictures. I literally was the photographer for when they were doing the Olympic trials in Las Vegas. I was there at the game on the floor. They went head to head. Kobe got destroyed. When they played games in the NBA, I mean LeBron got destroyed.
Yep.
And LeBron used to get his butt kicked by Kobe when they played each other.
But using the same mentality that we were using with Tom Brady and Michael Jordan, LeBron is a brand.
But it's not. It's not respected by athletes. It's respected by pro athletes who have similar aspirations. It's respected by the people who don't really play basketball, but they gamble or they watch ESPN. But people who played sports of any sport that have played team sports generally do not have a respect for LeBron. He doesn't show loyalty. Right. He doesn't show the get up and gumption. Let me just put it on its lowest level. If I'm at the park, Mike, and I'm playing the game, and you beat me, and you like, we lost a player. You want to play with us? I'm gonna say no. I got my squad.
Yeah.
And I'm literally telling you what I've done 1,000,000 times at the park, at the health club.
Yeah.
Be like, you want to run with us, Phil? No.
Yep.
And they understand the no. I'm basically saying not only no, but when we get back on the court, it's on.
Yeah.
I can't respect another type of thought process. And LeBron is that other type of thought process. He's the one who'll be like, okay, and they'll want credit for coming over to your team and winning. When everything was set up for him,
which has happened a bunch of times already.
Yes.
Yeah.
He ain't ever took what he got and did something with it.
Yeah.
It's people, almost, and that's the thing that people respect in general. You talk in business. If I won the lottery and you earned your money, you ain't respecting my money, even if I got more money than you.
Yeah. It's almost a lazy thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
He does not have the ability to be the true dog on the team. He has to have dogs on the team.
Yeah. He's got to have a team. Yeah. Yep.
So that's okay. Me, man.
All right. I understand.
So who did you pick? You picked LeBron, right?
No, I didn't pick anybody.
Okay. All right, Mike. So let's get to the real deal Holyfield here.
Okay.
At this year's WNBA All-Star Game, players walked out wearing black shirts that read, "Pay us what you owe us." Let's get straight to the point. Nobody owes you anything. This is a league that loses money every year, survives off NBA subsidies, and still can't fill half the seats in most arenas. Ratings are low, merch sales are weak, and yet the players believe they're entitled to more money. For what? The WNBA is not a profitable business. It's a charity project dressed up as a professional league. You want more money? Earn it. Bring in fans, sell out arenas, move merchandise, drive TV deals. Until then, the only thing that's owed is a reality check. So, Mike, what do you think about this?
I agree. I mean, unfortunately, I saw this popped up in my feed, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And, I forget which one was asking for more money. One of the players. And the joke is like, well, okay, if you want to take your fair share of the profit, you owe us $326,000 for this season. That's your share of the loss. So, I mean, when it comes down to, look, sports is a business, and they don't make money. I don't feel bad about that. Like, I mean, everybody, in my opinion, everybody has an opportunity to make money. Why they don't make money, I don't know.
So what about the argument that WNBA players work just as hard as NBA players?
It's irrelevant. I mean, well, I don't disagree
I'm
with
willing
that.
to address it. I do. I say they don't.
I don't know that.
The pace, the training, the competition is not remotely the same. They don't play
as many games, right?
They don't draw the same crowds. This is biology, not bias. They are not working as hard as the men.
Well, from a capitalist standpoint, at the end of the day, the only thing I care about is they don't make the money. They're not generating the money. They're not getting it. Like you said, they're not getting enough people in the stands. They're not selling enough merch. They're not selling enough Bud Light and pretzels at the concession stand. The bottom line is, if they can't make money, and like you said, they're completely subsidized and completely funded from the NBA. So it's like a. I mean, I don't want to say this. I know people are going to get mad at me, but it's like a toy league.
So, Mike, I got a question, and I think you'd be able to relate to this, especially once being in the restaurant business. I'm sure you had a front person, and how did you pick that front person?
Well, I used to say that the person that greets the customer when they come walk into the door is you're only as good as your weakest link. So you best be putting one of your better links at the front.
And what was one of their attributes?
Dry business, right? They are creating...
So their appearance had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
How much of a
lot?
Okay,
it's appearance. It's how you speak. It's your just charisma in general. It's all of those things are rolled into one big package.
Okay. The reason why I asked that is because I'm going to go down some territory in this that I'm wondering why I don't hear this. Would a focus on presentation with more attractive players, feminine dress codes, better branding help them?
I mean,
do I need to be more clear for you?
Well, sure. I mean, yeah, but now you're talking about, are we talking about roller derby here? I mean,
I'm absolutely, I'm not trying to beat around the bush. Yeah. Sexier outfits. When they have those video cameras with them coming into the thing, none of them dressed like boys and all of that.
But Phil, you're okay, but you're talking from look, these are athletes, right? This is not Victoria's Secret models. These are not, that's
they're
not
professional athletes.
Yep.
No, whoa. I ain't talking about wearing no Victoria's Secret type stuff.
No, but they're not.
Here's the thing. In practice, they wear sexier stuff than they wear in the game. So it ain't like the clothes, they wear the clothes already. I'm just talking about like maybe Lycra shorts. I've literally seen whole teams in the Olympics with the Lycra shorts on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's definitely things.
There are women's basketball uniforms that look like women's basketball uniforms without you crossing over the line like what you were thinking.
No, they look terrible.
They pick like they be having like the 1990s Michigan shorts down to their knees and all of that.
Yeah, they look terrible.
The reason why I'm asking this is
not that the men don't either.
I was shocked to find out that about 70% of the people viewing the games are men. So it's either try to get more women to watch or go with what you got. And if you trying to get more men to watch, what I just said is going to work. It'll all of a sudden be, like when you go into a restaurant and they're just playing sports, they'll always make sure to have the women's game playing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately, it's a struggle that's been going on for a long time, regardless of what sport you're talking about. The women's sports don't have the draw that the men's sports do. And that's just, that's across the board from the Olympics.
Have you noticed though
tennis to everything?
But have you noticed which ones don't do well? It is only where the women's version tries to fall in line with the male version.
I agree.
Like for instance, tennis, women are
probably one of the most successful women's sports.
And track.
Yep. Track. I would say golf too. Yep.
So it's only when, like, I'll tell you one where they went overboard. The lingerie league with the football league, it didn't do well. So I'm not saying that you have to, I'm not trying to say wear lingerie or nothing like that.
Right.
But in tennis, they look feminine.
Yeah.
In gymnastics, they look feminine.
Yep.
You get ice skating.
Yeah. And the other problem that you've got in the WNBA is that the teams are not very well balanced. It's almost as if there's just not enough super good talent because
there's
there's certain teams are going to win, right? I mean, it's not even a question.
So you're talking about the talent, Mike. I want you to understand that the best rebounder that they've ever had in the history of their sport is Angel Reese. And she's also noted for having such a low field goal percentage. So she's basically getting a majority of her rebound. She'll like miss a shot. She misses a shot like 2 or 3 times and then rebounds it. So your best player, and she just played in the All-Star game last week. One of your best players in the league can't even hit layups. And the only reason they get a bunch of rebounds is because they miss so many shots.
Yep.
The reason why Caitlin Clark sticks out, because if you watch a whole game, she ain't really hitting a lot of shots either. She's just hitting way more shots than the other women.
Yes.
So that's the problem. And then they keep fighting things like they need to lower the rim.
Yeah, because exactly. They're not as tall. So the problem is that it creates a different game altogether, and I think it's more boring.
It ain't because they're not tall, bro. I could go.
Well, but they're not
I could
as
go
tall.
to a park in Chicago right
but...
now and have every guy under 6 feet, and it'll be a slam dunk contest.
Well, they jump better.
Yeah. All right. So, Mike, we're about to get serious, okay?
Oh, okay. I thought we were.
I don't watch the WNBA. I don't care. I only brought it up because that's supposed to be the big deal.
Yeah.
This is the big deal to me. This is nearly 500,000 retired Americans are now collecting Social Security while living abroad. And the numbers keep growing. But it's not just retirees. People in their 40s and 50s are fleeing the U.S. to live more affordably in places like Portugal, Thailand, and Mexico. The problem? Locals in those countries are pushing back. From rent spikes to cultural erosion, American expats are facing a backlash. And here's the twist. The U.S. under Trump built walls and tightened borders while telling much of the world to stay out. Now, Americans are the ones looking for a way in, and not everyone's thrilled to see us coming. So, Mike, are countries like Portugal, Spain, Thailand, and Mexico justified in pushing back against American expats?
Okay, you're going to make me just give an opinion here. You're referring to, well, there was an article that you had sent me, and we talked about this a little bit off thing, but what I want to say is that a lot of studies have been done. What we're talking about is gentrification in many of these places. So you saw some revolts going on in Mexico City. You saw some going on in Portugal, in parts of Italy. I think there are various places in the world. What they have determined, and I am very in touch with this because I'm living down here in Mexico, so I can see this on a first person basis. It is not, contrary to what you're hearing in the media, that it's Americans or it's Canadians or it's necessarily expats. A lot of what is being caused is by what's happening in America. So this is no different than if I lived in Boise, Idaho, 10 years ago, and today, all of a sudden, my water price, my rent prices, my everything has risen, and it's being driven, oftentimes being accused by the invasion from California, right? So this doesn't necessarily have to be external to the country. And what you're going to see is, so I'm going to give you a firsthand perspective here in Todos Santos in Mexico. We have some of that problem happening right in the town that I live in here. It's an absolute fact that the vast majority of people that have, I'll call them, immigrated to this town are coming from mainland and other parts of Mexico. And so what's occurring here, and is loosely on the surface, is look, there's people rioting and saying my rent has been driven high because of these people, because of Airbnbs and all this other stuff. There is some truth to some of that, but the vast majority of these economic changes has to do with what we're seeing right here in America. It is the shrinking of the middle class. It's the transfer of wealth to the very wealthy, and those people are much more able to move, travel, own places in various places, buy additional homes like Airbnbs that they can rent out. So what's happening is that it isn't on the surface, Portugal as an example can say, oh my God, it's the tourists. If you do a study, and Mexico City did this article was actually based that we read, that was an example in Mexico City. Vast majority of ownership in the Airbnbs in Mexico City are owned not by foreigners. They're owned by Mexicans. They're taking advantage of the fact that they can get more money for them. But it's not necessarily because they're from America or from Canada. They could be they're just wealthy Mexicans. So there is a problem going on. There's no question, but we see this. I'm sure you see this locally to where you are. It's the old story. The neighborhood grows up, it gets more expensive, and it pushes the local people out. Go to Jackson, Wyoming. I mean, if you go to Jackson, Wyoming, I think I've told the story on one of the other podcasts. I was there with my truck one time, and yet, you could blame me. I'm a nomad. I'm a digital nomad, and here I am in Jackson, and I'm able to buy a $27 pizza. You can blame me. But that isn't who you really need to be blaming. The person that I met, that worked at REI in downtown Jackson, that was camped next to me outside of town, boondocking. And I met her one night, and she was camped there because that's where she lives. She lives in her car because she grew up in Jackson. She can't afford to live there anymore because the prices of everything is risen so much. So this is not unique to other countries or expats. This is a worldwide problem that we're having, and it's simple. A transfer of wealth. We are pricing poor people out of existence, and America is leading the way on that charge. It's happening in America all day long. I mean, it's becoming billionaires and poor people. There's not that many. The middle class is shrinking.
Well, the only thing I got to say about the whole thing is the money part. I hope this don't sound cold, but that's life.
Yeah,
that part is. But the part about the other things like the erosion of culture and things like that, I do agree with that, and I think you are in a good example to make the point that I want to make. Like, for instance, here in America, you'll have a person who's immigrated here legally or illegally, and they'll have been here for 20 years, and they still can't speak English.
Yeah, I agreed.
Whereas, like you're going to become a citizen there in Mexico. Right. And we've literally worked around your schedule of going to these classes. It's an important thing to you and you even seem proud of it and all of that.
It's a mindset because it's like I'm trust me, I'm sensitive to what I do down here. As an example, like when I started building out this property that I'm on, we originally got a quote from somebody to put a septic system in that was between $25,000 and $30,000. That's an American price. And we ended up hiring a contractor to do our septic system, and we paid $4,000. So I was very, but I asked my teacher at school, I go, well, who do you guys use? And I'm very careful to make sure that I use the same people that somebody that grew up here uses, because that way I'm going to pay the same amount, and I'm not driving up the price, because the second that I pay $30,000 for something that's worth $4,000, that's what prices people out of their own home. Right, because that contractor wants to sell more systems to me. They don't want to sell to the locals anymore. And so you got to be careful about that, and you got to assimilate into their culture. Look,
that's it right there. You got to assimilate into their culture.
But put this back into America for a second. The hit show Yellowstone is all about this, right? It's basically the invasion of California into Montana, and the Montana, people that live in Montana were like, you look, you guys can come here, but we don't want it to change. We want Montana to be Montana, not California. So if you're going to move here, you better learn how to be a Montanan. So I mean, it's the same concept, right? I mean, don't bring if you're fleeing California because you don't like it, don't bring California's principles with you.
Don't bring that ish in my house.
Yeah. And that's, I think, when we talk about gentrification, and yeah, there's no question during COVID, the pandemic made more people able to work remotely and be more mobile, and a lot of us, myself included, were like, oh shit, I can get a lot of the same stuff that I get in Connecticut, and if I pay $1,000 for something there and it only costs me 20 here, well, why wouldn't I? I think I might want to live where I only have to pay $20 instead of $1,000. So you wake up, nomads. I equate. I mean, we're talking. Look, we've got a podcast that originates in the Overland world, right? Nomads are modern day explorers. They're modern day Jacques Cousteau's. They're modern day Christopher Columbus's. These are the people that discover stuff and get out there. And when you open your eyes to the world, you quickly realize that all of us, to some extent, live in a bubble. And you're like, one of my biggest regrets right now is, why did I stay in Connecticut for so damn long? It's so expensive. And when you get out and you travel, whether it's in the Western United States or overseas or south of the border, you quickly learn, wow, I can get a lot of the same stuff and be just as happy for a lot less. And I don't have to have all the stress involved with keeping up with the Joneses and just paying. I talked to my brother on the phone the other day, and he told me, I think his overhead or utilities was like $1,600 a month or something like that in Massachusetts. He's outside of Boston. And I'm like, well, mine's 20. I split it with my two. Mine's $22 a month is my total utility bill, because all we pay for is water delivery, $65 a month. So, at some point you wake up and you realize, and it's not unique to here. You could be in Thailand, like you mentioned. You could be in Portugal. You could be in I mean, I don't. You name a place. I mean, for somebody that lives in New York City, you can go to New Mexico or Arizona or Alabama and be like, wow, I can't tell you how many friends I've had move from the Northeast, having originated in the Northeast. You start scratching your head. I'm not even sure why any of my friends still live in the Northeast, quite frankly. I mean, yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's got the best fall in the world. You get leaves and go driving through Vermont's beautiful. But God, I don't know why anybody wants to live there. I mean, really. I mean, you were just not getting what you could be. Anyways,
so did Trump's immigration and foreign policy tone worsen how Americans are received abroad?
I don't know. I mean, I can tell you from my own personal standpoint, no. The Mexicans are very so I'm maybe unique in the fact that I'm in Mexico, and I know a lot of people listen to the podcast probably don't listen to Fox News and CNN too much and have an image of Mexico. The Mexicans genuinely love the Americans. They want the tourism. They want the open border. They want us to come south of the border because it's a huge economic boost. Look, most of their income in Mexico ultimately comes from the United States, producing products, shipping stuff across the border, things like that. Most of the tourism stuff is very connected to the United States. So they understand what Trump's doing. And, a lot of people on the surface are like, oh God, is it going to be tit for tat? Is Mexico going to, if Trump says you can't come in, is Mexico going to say you can't come in? No, Mexico is not stupid. They're never going to do that. That doesn't make any sense.
So, Mike, you're probably the perfect person to ask this question, and I'm confident that you've been asked this a million times, especially at Overland Expo, probably at some of your classes. Is retiring or working abroad a viable solution for Americans or an unstable escape plan?
I think it's a viable alternative if you are in a profession that you are able to work remotely on a computer. If you have a job or a role that you can do remotely, then yes, I think you can viably do it. I have many friends down here that work full time back based in the States or in Canada or even in Europe that are here sitting in the same town I am that are working full time. So yes, I think you can do it. So it is viable. And to answer that article that we read about, gentrification. So is there an element to that? A guy that comes out of Vancouver and it works full time and is getting paid in Canadian wages, working for a tech company online on his computer. Can he afford a quote palace in this town? Yes. So he's one of those people I need to talk about and make sure that he understands that he has to respect the local culture, the local community, and realize that his income and ability to spend has to be wielded very carefully because he could contribute to the locals that grew up in town not being able to afford here anymore. Because look, if everybody came down from Vancouver and and we got to pay $1,000 a month, to us $1,000 a month for rent is not a lot. To a local, it may be astronomical. So you got to be careful of that stuff.
So one last thing about this. When I've gone to other countries and visited friends who are citizens or living long term in those countries, a majority of them, they go to the expats bar, they hang out at the expats diner.
Yep.
Everything is some expats. It's like they moved to the country, but they're not in that country because they literally have friends from America and nobody else, or from other countries. They're not friends with really anybody from that actual country.
And that, I've noticed that in my travels all the way back from 25, 30 years ago when I was in Africa, all the way through today. And you're totally right, Phil. I mean, there's expat communities. Mexico here has them. There's some on the mainland where if you went into the town, you almost swear like you were in Little America. It's one of the reasons. I mean, I'm not going to rain on, well, you know what, whatever. I don't give a shit. There's a town that's across from me right here called Los Barriles. That is, I can't stand it. I'm sure I'm going to get hate mail here probably, but there's way too many gringos in that town. It's become so Americanized that it's disgusting, in my opinion. It's just, unfortunately, look, there's good and bad in everything. And there's a lot of Americans that come down here. And I've heard people down here firsthand be like, in fact, I saw a post. I'm going to tell you a story. I saw a post online on I think it was on the Los Barriles Facebook group that said, I don't understand with all the people we got here now, they should really consider like maybe putting a Starbucks in. Like I don't really want. We don't have a Starbucks yet. These are legit people that like have figured out like, look, I can move out of XYZ town in America or in Canada and come down here, and it's going to cost me less. And they want to have America, but they want it to cost less. And that's I have zero respect for that. I can't stand it. I can't stand that town. There's just a bunch of fucking people driving around in side by sides and ripping up and down the streets. If you look at the population, somebody in Los Barriles I'm sure is gonna fucking send me a nasty gram, but that town has a population. If you look it up online, of I want to say it says maybe 2,100 people. And the town that I live in here, Todos Santos, has a population of about 7,000. And I can tell you from being in both of them, the feel is about the same size. If anything, I would say the other town is bigger than ours. The reason is because almost everybody over there is not being counted as a citizen because they're Americans or Canadians. The reason I moved here is for that very reason. Yes, Phil, to answer your question, last night I went and had a beer at what I would call a expat bar. However, it's this place called Baja Varia. Shout out to Baja Varia. It's got the best craft beer in all of Baja. Any given moment that I go in there, and the reason I call it an expat bar is because a beer costs you $8 to $10, and that's a U.S. price all day long.
You ain't lying.
That's a craft beer, $8 to $10. That's what it costs. But I'm going to tell you what. When I go in there, if there's 10 people sitting at the bar, 7 of them are Mexican. And that's what I mean when I say there's a gentrification problem, because there's people coming from mainland, from Mexico City, from Monterey, who have a lot of money, and they move here, and they've got money. They can spend $8 on a beer. The 3 people that are Americans there, every one of them can speak at some level of Spanish and can integrate with the culture. And I got to tell you, to answer your question, that happened to be last night. But when I go out to eat, 9 out of 10 times I go to a Mexican place. In fact, I go up and down roads, and when I see a hole in the wall place where I don't see a gringo in sight, and it's packed, that's where I'm going to eat, because I know that's where the food's good. So
that's your MO period, though, Mike.
Yes, you're right.
You're different.
Well, I'm hoping that somebody out there is listening that's understanding this conversation about being careful. And I don't care whether you're traveling in Mexico or India or Thailand or wherever. You need to respect the local culture, customs, and, quite frankly, economics. Because economics is the big thing. Economics is what ultimately takes down the culture, right? So you can see this in various cities. Like, I can tell you, even in Africa, you go to Nairobi, you go to Egypt or Cairo, go to certain places, you'll find McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken. The culture is being eroded economically, and it changes their culture infinitely. So anyways, it's one of the reasons why I picked the town that I live in here, is because it is largely Mexican. It has an expat population, which is nice because look, all of us want to be able to go and talk to somebody in our native language occasionally, because, man, it gets tiring when you're translating all day long. But there's a good mix of people. And that's what drew me here. And that's why, a town like, I was riding on their parade on the other side of the peninsula here. I couldn't live there. You couldn't pay me to live there. I could not live there. I can't do it.
Mike, somehow have we talked about Trump today?
I don't know. Well, you talked about his border policy, which, by the way, the Mexicans, one last thing on his border part, because you asked me how the Mexicans feel about it. It is largely solved their southern, and a lot of people don't know this. Mexico has a huge southern border problem, and Trump literally has solved most of that, because if they're not able to cross into the U.S. on the northern border, they ain't coming into the Mexican southern border either. So they're very appreciative of that.
All right. Well, you were the person to have this conversation with.
And by the way, Trump is too busy. I mean, we didn't talk about Trump because he's Epsteining right now. And by the way, we like to make predictions on the podcast, so I'm going to give you a prediction. It's going to come out later on that the only reason that they ditched the Epstein files is because, what's her name? Pam Bondi went to Trump and said, you're in it. And
but
Trump
I already said that.
Yeah. And Trump said, well, shit, we already knew this. We knew this years ago. So it's not new, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe look, conservatives are stupid. Trump said, I'm in it. We're not putting this out then. And then that was it. Now, just because he's in it doesn't mean he did anything wrong. I mean, it's a fact that he knew the guy. It's a fact that they were friends. The guy went to his wedding. All these are facts. Like everybody from Bill Gates to the entire Kennedy family to like all these people have visited the island, right down in the American Virgin Islands or wherever Epstein's island was. But like that doesn't mean they committed a crime. So this is another example of Trump being an idiot. He's a narcissistic idiot. And instead of just putting the fucking thing out there, he's like, I don't want to put it out. My name's in it. He looks like an idiot.
I believe that him and a bunch of other people, their name are on the list, and they may not have been involved with underage activities, but I strongly believe that if you're on that list, you have done something that may not be as reproachable, but something you don't want people to know.
Phil, I mean, does it matter? I mean, Trump's talking about grabbing pussy, and he's a convicted felon, and he's he's been married I don't know how many times, and he's cheated on this and that. I mean, does anybody give a shit? I don't think so. I mean, I draw the line at playing with kids, but the rest of it, if we find out that Trump went down there and had a group sex with I don't think anybody gives a shit.
I understand, but everybody has, not everybody, but a lot of people have something that other people wouldn't think much of, but we're very self-conscious about. We have an insecurity about. He might not want people to know that he can't bust without a finger up his butt. I'm being totally serious.
I get it, Phil. But don't you think from a political standpoint, after all, he is the president of the United States, that there are just as much dirt and as much negativity on the other side of people that were on the other side? Kennedy's, Bill Clinton. Like
when it's about you, here. It don't matter. He could have done the least of every single person on that list. Whatever he did, it may be the thing he don't want nobody to know. That's why he was on an island doing it.
Well, and I'm going to make a prediction. Know. It's coming out. Whether Trump wants it or not, it's coming out now because his own, and ironically, it's his own people that are going to drive it out. We're going to find out what the shit's going on. I mean, they were meeting with Maxwell today, and they're going to, my prediction is they're going to let her out of prison. They're going to do a plea deal. They're going to be like, you tell us everything you know about everything and you get to go free.
Now that I agree with you with, I don't know how she'll get to that point, but I believe she's about to be free.
Yeah.
And I think she will not be doing a bunch of TV and stuff like that. I think she'll do a handful of choreographed interviews right after her freedom, where there's handlers right there making sure she say the right thing, and then you ain't gonna hear from her again.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't hear from me ever again if it got out. I mean, I don't know how many years.
Well, I think that's going to be part of her deal.
Yeah. I don't know. We're gonna find out. But all I can tell you is the Epstein thing is coming out one way or another, and I don't know why.
I don't know about that.
I think it is.
I have seen things be logical, but when power is involved, it's like fuck that.
The problem is you've got all of these right-wing conservative Trump or MAGA people, and then you've got the Democrats on the other side that want it released. And this is a historic when you've got those two people teamed up together to try to get something done. I agree with you, Phil. It's hard because the reason that it's not coming out is wealth and power. Wealth and power. Everybody that went to that island was wealthy and powerful, whether it was Prince Andrew of England or Bill Gates or the Kennedy family. They got money and power, as does Trump, as does Clinton, as does all the rest of these people. So
If you just look at the history of the Kennedys, the things that they have done, and nobody has spent a day in jail.
And that's my point. Yeah.
And I mean, they are historically, I mean, murder, drownings, strip, you name it.
All of it. Yeah, exactly. And we would be remiss if we didn't mention Hunter Biden interview on this podcast this week. I totally forgot about that. I could throw that in here at the end. But did you listen to that?
It was the most unhinged, delusional.
Dude, that's coke. That guy is he's a mess. And but here's the funny thing. I mean, him and his dad sound exactly the same, like their voice and the way that they speak. And you can hear a young Joe Biden in him for sure.
I agree.
I mean, they sound the same.
So, Mike, I'm laughing at him, but here's the kicker. If I was at the DNC, I would have him in my top 5 people considering to have some place in the Democratic Party moving forward.
Yes, Phil, that's where I was going with this. My prediction is Hunter Biden is in the ring for running for something next time we run, whether it's the president or something else. I guarantee you, I don't give a crap whether this guy is a heroin addict, a coke addict, years of whatever he did. He is well-spoken. Here's the 2 things I heard. When he's not dropping the F-bomb, he's well-spoken, but he's also dropping the F-bomb. So who does that remind you of? Trump. He's like the antithesis of Donald Trump. And we talked about this on the podcast before. The Democrats need to find their own Donald Trump. Well, here we go. Hunter Biden, badass Hunter Biden, had a terrible background just like Trump. I'm telling you, I know it sounds crazy.
And I watched some of the liberal news, and they was eating it up like candy.
Eating it up. Even though he was dissing people left, right, and center. I mean, he threw Pelosi. He threw a whole host of Democrats under the bus.
Well, as far as the Democrats, Pelosi, she's in power because she's part of the power of the DNC.
Yeah, exactly.
But once you get further down that org chart, everybody wants her gone.
Exactly.
So if you can follow the wave of some new person to oust her, he even has that going for him.
Hunter Biden could destroy the Democratic Party the same way that Donald Trump destroyed the Republican Party. And he turned it into the Donald Trump Party, and Biden could turn it into the Biden Party. He's got that. I'm telling you, mark my words.
Oh, we in agreement, bro. I see it. And I mean, I was looking at the performance from A to Z, and I meant the word performance.
Yeah.
Because he hit all his points. You could tell that rant was a well-written rant.
Yep. Planned it in advance. Yeah. He might have sounded off-hinged, as does Trump on occasion, but it's planned.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep.
So Republicans or right wing, whatever, MAGA, whatever you are, you better be concerned.
I'd be worried.
Yeah. After all is said and done, he on the wrong side of a lot of issues. So, but the way he's talking, he could easily evolve into, well, my father was okay with that, but not. He's already given off that kind of aura about him. So he can contradict prior Democratic standings on things.
And once again, he's got power and money.
And I believe at some point it's got to be at the right time. It could be too early, it could be too late. He's got to pick the right time to use this. But at some point, he's got to inflect into his conversation about all the things they did to my father. Like, so I'm even though I'm a Democrat, I have an issue with all these people.
Yep.
So I'm not just in here towing the line. I'm the new blood you've been asking for.
Yeah. Stay tuned, everybody.
Any last words, Mike?
No, I had to get that Hunter Biden in. I almost forgot. That's
All
important.
right. All right, guys, you know what I'm going to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully you'll see us here or on a trail soon.